The day starts like any other, with the sun barely peeking through the blinds, casting long shadows across our quiet living room. But as I'm about to step out for work, the doorbell rings, a sound that feels oddly out of place in the stillness of the morning. A delivery man hands over a package that catches me off guard. It's not addressed to me, but to my wife, Valerie. Curiosity peaks as I turn the package over in my hands. It's not heavy, but there's something about the way it's been wrapped that suggests it's more than just an ordinary delivery. The address label bears her name in bold, and a faint scent of something floral and expensive wafts from the box. A knot forms in my stomach as I wonder about its contents. With a conflicted heart, I decide to open it. As I carefully peel back the layers of wrapping, a beautiful dress reveals itself, elegant, silken, and definitely not meant for a casual occasion. It's accompanied by a note, penned in a familiar yet distant handwriting, "For you, my love, waiting on you tonight at the last night restaurant." It's signed by her boss, Richard, a man I've met on numerous occasions, whose handshakes now feel like the echoes of a deep betrayal. The shock hits me hard, like a punch to the gut. My mind races as I try to process the blatant infidelity laid bare before me. Anger and hurt boil within, mixing with a dozen memories of late nights she claimed were spent at the office. Every excuse she ever made now paints a vivid picture of deception. With the note still in hand, I confront Valerie as soon as she walks through the door. She freezes, the color draining from her face when she sees the dress and the note clutched in my fist. "Valerie, what is this?" My voice barely rises above a whisper, but it's enough to slice through the tense air. She stammers, her eyes darting around as if looking for an escape. I can explain, she begins, but her words falter under my steady gaze. "This?" I wave the note. "How do you explain this, Valerie? Is this why all those nights you were working late?" The confrontation escalates as Valerie tries to salvage the remnants of her lies. "It's not what you think," she insists, her voice trembling. "It was just dinner, it didn't mean anything." But her words are hollow, too late to mend the fissure widening between us. The trust we built over years shatters in mere moments, and with it, any semblance of the life we once shared. Determined to not let this betrayal define me, I craft a plan for revenge, meticulous and cold. I'd make sure her affair costs her more than she ever bargained for. Starting tonight, at the last night restaurant, where her web of lies would begin to unravel. As the sun sets, casting a golden glow that seems mocking now, I know this is just the beginning. The road to retribution is dark and twisted, but necessary. Valerie and I are beyond the point of return, and as I step out to set my plan into motion, I realize that the last night at that restaurant will indeed be our last, forever marking the end of our shared path. The evening air is crisp, filled with the anticipation of autumn as I park my car across from the last night restaurant. The streetlights cast a soft glow on the sidewalk, and the murmured sounds of the city set the stage for the night's unfolding drama. My hands feel cold, my mind sharp, every step I take towards the restaurant is measured, fueled by the searing pain of betrayal. Inside, the restaurant buzzes with the chatter of unsuspecting patrons, the clink of glasses punctuating their laughter. I spot Valerie immediately, radiant under the soft lighting, sitting across from Richard. They seem engrossed in an intimate conversation, her laughter a little too loud, her gestures a little too animated. The sight fuels my resolve. I take a deep breath and approach their table, my heart pounding in my ears. They haven't noticed me yet, giving me a moment to observe the man who has intruded into my life. My ears. First, his expression turning from amusement to confusion, then to alarm as he recognizes me. "Good evening, Valerie." "Richard," I say, my voice calm, belying the storm inside. Valerie's smile fades as she turns, her eyes widening. "What are you doing here?" she stammers, her voice a mix of surprise and fear. "I thought I'd join you." "After all, it seems I've been missing out on quite the party," I reply, pulling up a chair without waiting for an invitation. Richard tries to regain his composure, clearing his throat. "Look, this isn't what it looks like," he starts, but I cut him off with a sharp wave of my hand. "Save it, Richard. I'm not here to discuss clichés. I'm here for the truth," I say, turning to Valerie. Or maybe you'd like to explain this? I toss the note onto the table, the words for you, my love, glaring up at us. Valerie's face crumbles, the mask of composure slipping. It was just a dinner, it was never meant to hurt you, she whispers, her voice cracking. Dinner? And what about the dress? The secret meetings? How long, Valerie? My questions hang heavy between us, the air thick with tension. She looks away, unable to meet my gaze. A few months. I'm sorry, I never wanted. Enough, I interrupt. I came here tonight not for apologies, but for retribution. I turn to the other diners, raising my voice slightly. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the interruption. Please, enjoy your meals, but know that this man, I point at Richard, is why my marriage has fallen apart. Whispers erupt around us as patrons turn to stare, their meals forgotten. Richard's face turns a shade paler, his reputation now at stake as the eyes of his peers judge him. Valerie tries to quiet me, her hands reaching out in a plea. Please, let's not do this here. We can talk privately. No, Valerie. Tonight, everyone sees the truth of who you and Richard really are, I say firmly, standing up. My piece said, I leave them to the murmurs of the crowd, the weight of public shame now on their shoulders. As I walk out, the cool night air feels like a balm. The first step of my plan is complete, but this is just the beginning. My mind races with the next moves, the gears of revenge still turning. The road ahead is long, and the end is nowhere in sight. The morning after the confrontation at the last night restaurant, the city wakes under a blanket of grey clouds, mirroring the turmoil in my heart. My phone buzzes relentlessly with calls and messages, but I ignore them all. Today, I have a different agenda, one that involves legal and financial retribution. As I sit in my lawyer's office, the atmosphere is starkly professional, the air filled with the scent of leather and paperwork. I explain the situation to my lawyer, James, whose expression grows increasingly grim as I lay out the details of Valerie's affair with her boss. We can file for divorce on the grounds of infidelity, James suggests, tapping his pen against the notepad. Given the circumstances, we can also push for a favorable settlement for you, considering the impact this has had on your life. I nod, feeling a cold sense of satisfaction. I want to make sure she doesn't walk away from this unscathed. I want full disclosure of her finances. I suspect she's been funneling money from our joint account. James raises an eyebrow, intrigued by this new angle. We'll need to subpoena her bank records then. If what you suspect is true, it could significantly affect the settlement. The wheels are in motion, and as I leave the lawyer's office, I feel a step closer to closing this painful chapter of my life. But first, I have another visit to make, one to Richard's office. The office building where Richard works is bustling as usual, but today, I walk through the revolving doors with a different purpose. I reach his office and find him there, looking haggard, his usual composure replaced by a nervous twitch. Can I help you? Richard asks, his voice barely steady. I think you've done enough, I reply coolly. But I'm not here to make a scene. I'm here to let you know that I'm speaking with my lawyer about the affair and its implications for your company. I'm sure they'll be interested to know about the personal use of company resources. Richard blanches, the color draining from his face. You wouldn't dare. Think about the repercussions, it won't just be me. That's the point, I say, my voice icy. Actions have consequences, Richard. You both will learn that the hard way. Leaving his office with his protests echoing behind me, I feel a mix of triumph and emptiness. This is not just about revenge, it's about justice, about restoring some sense of order to the chaos they caused. As I drive away, my thoughts turn to the next steps. The legal battle will be long and draining, but necessary. And beyond that, I need to think about my own future, about healing and moving on from the wreckage of a marriage I once valued above all. The city around me seems to pulse with the rhythm of life, indifferent to the dramas unfolding within its confines. But for me, each step forward is a step out of the shadows of betrayal into a new, uncertain light. As weeks of legal battles and public scrutiny drag on, I delve deeper into Valerie and Richard's affair, uncovering layers of deception far beyond what I initially suspected. The more I discover, the clearer my path becomes. It's not just about divorce or public humiliation anymore, it's about delivering a revenge so fierce that it becomes a legend whispered in hushed tones. The final act of my plan unfolds on a cold, windy evening. The setting is an art gallery opening, Valerie's favorite social haunt, and a place where she once loved to shine. Tonight, however, the brilliance of the art fades in comparison to the scene I'm about to set. Valerie and Richard, now painfully aware of their dwindling number of allies, arrive together, clinging to each other as their world collapses around them. They pause at the entrance, scanning the room, and that's when they spot me. There's a brief flicker of fear in Valerie's eyes, and Richard subtly squares his shoulders, preparing for a confrontation. I walk over, my steps measured, a small, tight smile playing on my lips. "Valerie, Richard," I greet them, my voice loud enough to turn heads. "So glad you could make it." "What do you want?" Richard asks, his tone defensive yet wary. "Oh, just to enjoy the evening," I reply, gesturing to the artwork. Although, I must say, some of these pieces remind me of the intricate web you both wove. Speaking of webs, I found it fascinating how deep your company's financial misdeeds run, Richard. All those off-the-books deals, and with your star employee. Makes one wonder. Richard pales, his eyes darting around nervously. Valerie grips his arm, her composure slipping. "What are you saying?" she demands. "Just making conversation," I say with a shrug. "But since we're all here, why don't we make it truly interesting?" I raise my voice slightly, ensuring the nearby crowd can hear. "Did you know that Richard's company is under investigation?" "Yes, turns out he's been using company funds for personal pleasures." "And Valerie, dear, you're listed as quite the accomplice." The murmurs grow louder as people begin to whisper, their eyes flitting between the disgraced couple and the dramatic revelations unfolding. Valerie turns to Richard, betrayal written all over her face. "You said it was taken care of, that no one would find out." Richard stammers, trying to salvage the situation, but he's cut off as two investigators from the Financial Crimes Unit step forward. "Richard Miles? Valerie Jenkins? We need to speak with you regarding allegations of embezzlement and misuse of company resources." As they are escorted away, I feel a hollow victory. Their careers, their reputations, their freedom, all teetering on the edge of ruin because of their choices. But as I watch them leave, handcuffed and defeated, a profound sense of finality washes over me. This chapter of my life is closed, not with the reconciliation or forgiveness some might seek, but with a decisive end to the deception and betrayal that marked my marriage. The gallery fades around me, the vibrant colors of the artwork dimming into gray. I turn and walk away, the echoes of their downfall a stark reminder of the cost of betrayal. No looking back, no second chances, just the cold, hard path of retribution that has led us here, parting forever in the shadows of our own making.